Good morning. This is the Innovation Conversation. I'm Kevin Coop.
And I'm Tom Furphy.
So, Tom, we got an email from a morning newsbeat reader the other day, which I thought would open the door to a conversation, a little bit about Amazon's processes and procedures and also how to compete with them. Um, so this reader wrote, I recently reordered a nationally branded item via Amazon. As you know, it's easy. All you do is click on the order again button on the item in your Amazon order history. The first time I ordered it, it was supplied by a third-party source, which was a bit of a surprise to me, but no big deal. The big surprise occurred yesterday when the item was delivered by FedEx in a Walmart.com shipping box from a Walmart location in Indiana. So an order placed through Amazon was fulfilled and delivered by their competitor, Walmart. So how does this happen? and does it really matter? Is the first question.
Well, so how it happens, and we've talked about this, and I think people kind of get it. You know, Amazon's goal is to provide what a customer wants when they want it at the right price, delivered on their terms, right? Basically anything, hence the everything store. A bunch of that stuff they can handle, bring into their own facilities. They can warehouse it. They can economically, facilitate storing it, pick, packing, and delivering it. It's delivered, by Amazon or by their partners in an Amazon box, fully Amazon branded, fully Amazon controlled. That's a first-party retail offer. We know and we've seen, a lot more third-party offers and transactions happening on Amazon, and in fact, more than half their goods that are sold now are sold by third parties. The idea there is Amazon still creates that connection between the shopper and the product they're looking for. The third parties, and sometimes Amazon as well, compete to offer the best price to that customer. The platform selects the best price and shipping combination. And so that third party merchant, that could be the brand themselves, that could be a different retailer, not necessarily a big name brand retailer, but it could be, Kevin's store, and right. You could sell, kitchen stuff, that you select and, are ones that you want to offer for sale. And in some cases, and I think it's an edge case, my guess is in this customer's experience, when they clicked on reorder, right? At the time they clicked on reorder, the best offer, right? And by the way, the first time they clicked on to order it, the best offer was not from Amazon, it was from a third party. Right. So this time when they went to click on it, there was a third party seller that was using Walmart to fulfill the offer. Now that does add a bunch of cost, right? Because this third party, they have to pay a listing fee to Amazon of, somewhere between 12 and 16, 17%. Depending on the category. Then they have to pay Walmart's margin on the product because they're probably buying it at retail from Walmart. And then either Walmart or that merchant is covering the shipping cost of getting it there. So there's a whole bunch of costs tied up in that. But what happened, and here's why it matters and doesn't matter. What matters is that Amazon was successful in getting that product to that customer. They facilitated that to happen. What's probably not optimal there is the customer probably ultimately paid a little more than they could have if Amazon did stock it and could control it all the way through. But it might be an item that's just far enough down the demand curve that it's not worth Amazon carrying it. So yeah, I don't think it's a great customer experience to think Amazon's taking care of you on this and to have it show up from a third-party delivery service in a competitive box. That has to erode a little bit the brand value of Amazon in that transaction.
It's interesting. I mean, because even before e-commerce, right? You'd always hear about certain retailers who, if they didn't have an item that a customer came in and wanted, were perfectly willing to go across the street to get it from a competitor to give it to the consumer. And because that was how they defined customer service. And this is sort of the e-commerce version of that.
Unlike a mall where I bring a bunch of merchants together and say, go ahead and shop where you want. right? I'm still taking care of you. I'm the one that is making sure you get the product you want.
I suppose that part of the question that this reader is bringing up is it somehow, does it erode Amazon's value proposition? And I suppose, and I think we've actually here gotten the occasional box from Walmart, and my wife or daughter will say, "What'd you order from Walmart?" No, I didn't order anything from Walmart, and it ends up being something we got from Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, we've also gotten box. I can imagine, like, if I ordered a blender, I would imagine I have, what the odds are, but it's also entirely possible that I would get it in a KitchenAid box because they came directly from KitchenAid. Walmart facilitated the sale, but never actually maybe didn't even touch the merchandise, or was happy to ship it out in whatever KitchenAid
Right.
box happened to be sitting in its warehouse, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's
Well, in the KitchenAid example, Amazon would prefer to ship it in, well, they prefer a plain box that was all barcoded up and all that, so it could move through their facility well. But they're perfectly happy to inventory it in the KitchenAid box, slap a shipping label on the KitchenAid box, and have it shipped there. Amazon gets pretty full credit for enabling that transaction, and then KitchenAid as a brand stands out as a good participant, in that as well. I think it does get a little squirrely when when it is a competitive retailer packaging, that it comes from. Because in this case, this is not, I am sure when the offer was, when you click on an offer, or when you're looking at an offer on Amazon, it'll say sold by and ships from. Right. And usually you like to see sold by Amazon, ships from Amazon, right? But sometimes you might see sold by third-party merchant, but ships from Amazon, right? Because Amazon will be Amazon FBA, where Amazon inventories it. My guess is in this case, it said sold by some third-party merchant, and it also said shipped from the third-party merchant, and that the third-party merchant actually controlled and directed the Walmart transaction to happen. That's my guess.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I guess different customers are going to react to it differently, right?
Yeah.
Because some customers are going to go, oh, "That's really cool. They didn't have it, but they got it for me, and they got it. I got it in 2 days. I'm thrilled," because I'm not aware and it's interesting. I mean, the box came from Walmart, which is not Amazon, and it came via Federal Express, right? Which I don't know how old I am. It's not Federal Express. It's FedEx. Right, came via FedEx, and Amazon doesn't do business with FedEx anymore. And you're right, there were probably lots of extra costs involved, but at the end of the day, the customer was happy. Now, what's interesting about this particular reader is that they were curious, and they went on Walmart and found the same item. I think it was for 15% less.
Oh yeah.
Than they paid at Amazon.
Yeah.
And I suppose
that's the margin that the seller made.
Right.
The seller paid Walmart the lower amount. They paid Walmart's retail.
Right.
And so yeah, I mean, is that a little bit of a customer betrayal? It probably ultimately comes off as that. Right. In that, wait, did I, if the customer goes back and says, wait, I could have bought it cheaper from Walmart direct. Now, maybe that customer goes back to Walmart now going forward.
It's a risk
for that. But in that case, that offer that came up to the customer was the best price available on Amazon at that time.
Yeah.
And, again, I think it's a little bit more of an edge case, but as that product becomes more and more viewed on Amazon and becomes more and more important in the algorithms of Amazon, Amazon will get sharper with pricing on that as well.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. I mean, Amazon's always made its choices, right? We're going to be competitive on this. We're not going to be competitive on that.
Yeah.
If you find someplace else, fine.
Yeah.
Because then the next thing it makes me wonder is, does this tell us, though, something larger about Amazon's intentions? And we know already that more than 50% of sales on Amazon's website, are actually through the marketplace, as opposed to being Amazon being the retailer.
Mm-hmm.
And there's always, I mean, that's been clearly their intention. Does this tell us that even to a greater extent than that, Amazon wants to be an aggregator, wants to be a platform, as opposed to being the retailer of record, which in some ways would make sense if they weren't opening so many stores to where Amazon is the retailer of record. I mean,
Right.
physical stores. I mean, so I have no idea what to make of it.
So it comes down to, we say this all the time, Amazon starts with the customer, they obsess over the customer, and then they work backward and innovate on their behalf. Amazon wants to, via Prime, they want to be that solution for all or as many of their customers' daily needs as they can reasonably solve. And across the shopping spectrum, a lot of those needs and a lot of those categories they can handle perfectly fine by inventorying goods in their warehouses and getting them to them that on a Prime eligible 1 day, 2 day type of timing. As you grow fast, as you look to solve more and more of those customer needs, and you end up covering more and more products, it actually you can become more effective at solving your customers' needs if you bring on this community of additional sellers, because you can get that assortment lit up quickly, right? It can be products you don't have to necessarily worry about bringing into your warehouse, and as long as the partner meets the standards that you set, the customer is going to get a good experience. And Amazon's going right now, they're at a clip where they're adding like 2,000 merchants per day to the Amazon platform. That's how fast their third-party platform is growing. So in many of these categories, that's a good way to serve them. I think in the grocery space, particularly where we're seeing stores, where we're seeing more intensity around local delivery, they realize that in that category with fresh products, kind of the experiential or at least the tactile and sensory elements of those experiences are often very well delivered via stores. So that's why they're focusing on that there. So I don't think that there's any real, kind of difference in strategy there. I just think they want to serve the customer in the best way. And for some categories, it's stores. In other categories, it'll be them inventorying the products. And in other cases, it'll be third parties inventorying the products.
It is interesting. I mean, this reader is the person who wrote in is a morning newsbeat reader. So by definition, they're in the business, right? So,
and they're super cool.
I'm sorry?
And they're super cool.
Right. Totally cool. But they have a better sense. They're thinking about this stuff more than just a customer's going to think about it.
Right.
At the end of the day, the customer's just going, I ordered it yesterday, I got it today. Wow.
And I know Amazon can take care of me.
Yeah.
Like, okay, if you start seeing, it was 1 in 20, now it's 1 in 10, now it's 1 in 5, now it's 1 in 3. Like, maybe I should start going to Walmart, in this case, or whatever other competitor is starting to show up more, especially if I know I can get a better value there. So yeah, I think, ultimately Amazon, I don't think Amazon would want to know and would want to support at any kind of scale customers spending more with them, because they want customers to use them to get the products, but they also want to get the customer the best price, or at least the most reasonable price on the product. So if the price has to be inflated to be able to accommodate that, I don't think that that's necessarily what Amazon would want long term.
Well, it's interesting, and I don't want to go in this particular conversation. I don't want to go too far down the labor rabbit hole, right? But it's sort of like and I told you this before. On Easter Sunday, 5:30, we're sitting out in the backyard, having a cocktail, and when I look up and there's an Amazon Prime van on the street, 5:30 in the afternoon on Easter Sunday. It's like, wow. I mean, that's.
Yeah.
I feel bad for the guy, but good for whoever got that delivery. Well, it may have felt bad for him too, but was happy to get the delivery.
Did you offer for him to come in and use the restroom?
I would have had he stopped at my house.
You should have flagged him down.
but I think, and that isn't that. I mean, at the end of the day, that's the really kind of. There's a lot of discussion of Amazon's labor issues, right? There's a lot of discussion about all these different issues. What's going to happen in Alabama? What's going to happen with, drivers who have to pick bottles, stuff like that. But at the end of the day, the reason they have these problems is because they're so damn good at making sure people get products as fast as possible. I mean, it seems sometimes like 2-day delivery is like a long period of time with that. What
Yeah.
do you order on Monday? I'm not going to get it till Wednesday because I'm used to getting it on Tuesday. And that's sort of the question. I mean, I jokingly said to my wife the other day, I mean, what would Amazon have to do, or what would Jeff Bezos have to do to make you say, that's it, we're getting rid of the 25 items we have on Subscribe and Save?
Yeah.
And who would he have to murder? And then we want to know who would he have to murder? And then we want to know the reason why. Because
That's horrible.
you know what?
Though it is a slippery slope. I mean, boy, I mean, they are amazing at the innovation that they've brought out, and they're always going to push. They're going to push hard to find out what's possible, and so they're towing against that line. They do need to be very careful
Totally.
that they respect basic human decency,
And not murder. I'm totally with you.
and rights, and conveniences, not even conveniences, necessities. They have to figure this stuff out, right? You have to have good working environments in your facilities. You have to have appropriate good working environments on the road. I get it. It's tough. You've got a lot of goods to get delivered in a short period of time because that's the cost structure that Amazon has promoted and the customers come to demand. At some point, the customer's not going to be okay with pushing it too far.
I was joking. I want to be clear.
I know, but
Joking
they have
about
to figure that out.
But listen, and I think in some ways the expectations are higher. I mean, I always think
It
in
should
so
be.
many ways Amazon is the prototypical 21st century company, already looking at how to be a 22nd century company, probably.
Oh yeah.
But in this case, it's sometimes like they're acting like 18th century landowners, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't match.
No, it doesn't. They have to figure it out. And my gosh, I hope and I still trust that they will.
Right. Okay.
But
So
I don't think you can be tone deaf, uh, in rebutting and refuting claims and all that. I think you really need to understand and be willing to, I mean, things are changing fast. The demands on these drivers are changing fast. I can't imagine having to deliver hundreds of items per day, driving around in a community. I have my productivity stresses on me, which is one thing. But then, like, where do you go to the bathroom? Like, do you even have time? And like, they have to figure that. They have to build that in. They've got to get it right.
So, to get back to the initial conversation about Amazon and stuff showing up in Walmart boxes, is there a lesson from any of that Amazon's competitors, whether you're a 3,000 store retailer or a 3-store retailer, is there a lesson that they can take from that tells them what the best way is to compete?
Well, I mean, I think it comes down to I don't think we've always said you're not gonna beat Amazon at Amazon's game, right? You're not gonna offer more products at better prices delivered faster. Like that ship has sailed. But who you are, what you are, the relationships you have with your customers, your understanding of their needs, your unique ability to solve those needs. I think that's where you need to focus, right? And I think, does Walmart have an opportunity here? Is there something about that product, where they had a better price, but the customer didn't think to go to Walmart for that, right? So what can Walmart learn about that, and how can they build offerings to maybe capture more customers that might want more products like that with potentially a better value proposition than Amazon? In that case, what's going to be tough is, would it be that hard for Amazon ultimately to inventory that product and offer it at the same price? Probably not. So Walmart's got to think probably of other ways to differentiate against Amazon and compete against Amazon there. They have a bunch of stores. They got a bunch of really convenient locations to pick stuff up. Maybe focus on that element. If you're in fashion, maybe focus on different things. If you're in food, maybe focus on different things. I think it really just comes down to your uniqueness as a retailer and what you can deliver that's special, and doubling down on that.
Well, and in so many ways, right? Whether you're 3 stores or 3,000 stores, it always comes back to this, right?
Exactly.
Glenn Turbick's book that he wrote, God knows how many years ago.
Yeah.
But the whole notion that one is going to be the agent for the consumer as opposed to the sales agent for the manufacturer
Exactly.
remains the sort of the linchpin of how to compete with Amazon, which, by the way, has done a pretty good job of doing that itself.
Yeah, I mean, they're Glenn talks about the barrier buster in there, and I think Amazon has the closest thing to that barrier buster that exists today. Although they're not, it's not the same model that Glenn proposed. The model that Glenn proposes requires a bunch of industry collaboration. Amazon wasn't certainly going to wait around for that. They went and caused the disruption. Maybe this disruption will inspire the industry to collaborate in new ways, and maybe there is a potential for the industry and players in the industry to be that barrier buster. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't have a lot of hope, but I've been doing this way too long.
There's a lot of precedent there. I get it.
Anyway, well, that's it for this edition of the Innovation Conversation. Tom, as always, thanks for doing it.
Thanks for having me.
And we'll see you in 2 weeks. Take care, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.